On the world news tonight from Babagide Imo Television, first the headlines. Tinubu confirms Betaedu as substantive immigration boss. Meets December refinery repair deadlines, Afenifere urges FG. Court orders minister to explain how 535 million naira was spent on school feeding during lockdown. We will overhaul Nigeria's security architecture, Tinubu. Cries pledges to improve welfare support for army officers, soldiers. On sport, Super Eagles dropped by 2 spots, now world 42nd team in FIFA ranking. I am Morire Rabila Lawal, the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has confirmed the appointment of Caroline Wuraola Adepoju as the substantive Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service. She made this known to the staff of the Immigration Service during the Controller General's parade on Wednesday in Abuja, the nation's capital. Adepoju, who was appointed the acting CG when the tenure of the former acting CG, Issa Jere, expired on May 29, revealed that the date for the decoration would soon be announced. The new CG also said some top management team members who took part in the promotion exam have been elevated to the ranks of Deputy Controllers General, adding that the date of their decoration will also be announced soon. Adepoju also called on officers to observe a minute of silence in honor of members of the service who died some weeks ago in the line of duty, praying that the Almighty God rest their souls. She also appreciated all officers and men for the support given to the NIS leadership. She particularly thanked the top management team, zonal coordinators, state controllers, and passport officers both at home and in diaspora. The Pan-Yoruba Social, Cultural and Political Organization, Afenifere, on Thursday urged the federal government to work towards meeting its December deadline for the operation of refineries in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Information reported that the President Bola Tinubu, during a recent meeting with the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress and its Trade Union Congress counterpart, assured that the Port Harcourt refinery will commence operation by December 2023. Afenifere, in a statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the group, Jare Ajayi in Ibadan, Oyo State, said the call was part of the resolutions of the group at the meeting held at Akure residence of its leader, Pa Ruben Fashionroti, on Tuesday. The group also called on the government and security agencies to urgently take steps that would be more effective in tackling this insecurity threatening the socio-economic well-being of the people. Afenifere tasked the federal government to meet the December deadline given for Port Harcourt refinery to resume production. The organization also calls for acceleration of actions in the man's power sector by the Minister of Power and Energy, Adebayo Adelabu, in view of the pivotal roles that power is playing in the economic and social lives of the people. In attendance at the meeting were representatives from various state chapters of the Afenifere, as well as coordinator of the organization in the United States of America and Canada. A federal high court Abuja has ordered Dr. Betaedu, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, to release details of how the sum of 535.8 million naira was expended on feeding of school children during the COVID-19 lockdown. Justice Nkeonye Maha, in a judgment, directed the minister and the ministry to furnish a civil society group with part of the information sought in line with Section 25(1) of the Freedom of Information Act 2011. Justice Maha held that the minister's failure to respond to the group's letter dated August 6, 2020, or even give reasons for the refusal to respond to the request as prescribed under the FOI Acts contravene the provisions of Section 4(a) and (b) of the Act. The judge also ordered the minister to comply with the orders of the court within 21 days upon receipt of the orders. She, however, refused to grant reliefs 3(e), (f) and (g) of the plaintiff. Information also reported that the incorporated trustees of Kingdom Human Rights Foundation International had filed a suit marked FHC/APJ/CS/1162/2020, following alleged refusal of the then minister Hajia Saidia Umar Farouk and our ministry to respond to the information sought. Umar Farouk was a minister under the Muhammadu Buhari-led government. You are watching the world news from Babagagide Imo Television. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured Nigerians that the nation's security architecture will be overhauled on the EC. Information report that Tinubu said these while presenting the 27 trillion naira budget estimate before the joint sitting of the Senate and House of Representatives. Tinubu said the federal government will reorganize Nigeria's entire internal security architecture. Highlighting key issues in the appropriation bill, Tinubu said the budget seeks to achieve job-rich economic growth, macroeconomic stability, better investment environment, and access to social security. Defense and internal security are accorded top priority, the president said. The internal security architecture will be overhauled to enhance law enforcement capabilities and safeguard lives, property, and investment across the country. Human capital is the most critical resource for the national development. Accordingly, the budget prioritizes human development with particular attention to children and foundation of our nation. The Chief of Army Staff, Cries, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, has promised that his administration will continue to make life more meaningful for officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army by providing essential welfare, support for troops and their families. Lieutenant General Lagbaja gave the charge on Wednesday during a visit to interface with the troops of the 4 Special Forces Command Headquarters of the Nigerian Army in Doma, Nasarawa State, as part of steps to enhance their operational activities. The Cries explained, following my assumption as the 23rd Chief of Army Staff on June 23, 2023, I have taken the time to visit formations and units of the Nigerian Army. The purpose is to physically assess the living and working conditions of the officers, soldiers, and their families to identify gaps and areas where the Army headquarters needs to intervene to make life more meaningful for them. He further explained, it is also meant to assess the operational readiness of our formations and units, considering our current engagement in all the states of the Federation and the FCT, to enhance the operational efficacy of these formations and provide essential welfare support to the troops and their families. He noted the success in stabilizing Niger State, which used to be very volatile, and highlighted similar success in Kaduna. He urged them to continue adopting strategic innovations in combating the spate of insurgency and criminality in all parts of the country. Additionally, according to the judiciary, talk waits when they arrest any of these insurgents in their custody.
That's one aspect. Another aspect of the judiciary is this. You do all your efforts, you make an arrest, you hand over, before you enter your vehicle, the man is released on bail. Now you have risked yourself in doing that. By the time he is released, he goes to tell the people who you are, and then your family members or you are at risk. So it gets to a stage where the security forces are not even willing to do it, because once you get an arrest, the person is released. We have the issue in the South. A lot of the ships we had, the other ship that was arrested 10 years ago. It was arrested, it was handed over, the ship went and changed its name, changed its color, and came back again. 10 years later, we arrested the same ship. And by the time you hand over the ship, before you know it, it's released. So please, I think that's one area that we really need to look into. We must have special courts that can handle this. And that's why we had, the only option we had now is we arrest, and then we destroy quickly.
Order, please.
Because the longer we keep it.
Renowned economist Bisi Marre says Nigerians are not interested in budgetary figures if the prices of basic commodities like rice, bread, and gari don't go down. Rewani, the managing director of Financial Derivatives Company Limited, made this known on Thursday during an appearance. He said, in the end, budgetary mathematics in economics is of no use to anybody except when by this time, 6 months' time, if we are buying rice at 40,000 naira a bag rather than 60,000 naira a bag. If we are buying bread, 900 naira a big loaf instead of 1,300 naira, which we are doing today. If we are buying gari at lower prices. The people are not interested in whether the budget is balanced and what the debt is. How does the budget affect their day-to-day livelihood? That is the key thing. At his maiden budget presentation before the National Assembly on Wednesday, President Bola Tinubu said the proposed 27.5 trillion naira 2024 budget will ensure macroeconomic stability, poverty reduction, and greater access to social security, amongst others. He highlighted priority areas such as security, local job creation, microeconomic stability, investment environment optimization, human capital development, poverty reduction, and social security.
Move in the right direction. Do they have the capacity to move in the right direction? We've gotten ready and all of that, but we are trying to run a 100-meter dash, but we have weights on our feet. So we got to get rid of those, weights that we have tied around our ankles before we can run. You cannot go far or go fast if you don't get rid of those. And those things, whether we like it or not, we have weights on our feet. We must get rid of those things. That's the thing. And in the end, it's budgetary arithmetic, budgetary mathematics and economics is of no use to anybody except when, by this time, 6 months' time, if we are buying rice at 40,000 naira a bag rather than 60,000 naira a bag, if we are buying bread at 900 naira a big loaf instead of 1,300, which we are doing today, if we are buying beans and gari at lower prices, then the people begin to say, the people are not interested in whether the budget is balanced and what the debt is. How does it affect their day-to-day livelihood? That is the key thing. And as you know, prices are up, but also incomes are down. And people are under tremendous pressure. You will notice that on the streets of Lagos in particular, the number of lunatics you see have increased. And part of it driven by poverty.
Right, mental health issues.
Captain Waregi Niyosho has disclosed 10-Tita Security Services Nigeria Limited, a private security firm owned by government Ekpemukpolo, popularly known as Tompolo, saved Nigeria over $43.2 million on a daily basis. Information reports Niyosho, who is the executive director of 10-Tita Security Services Nigeria Limited, made the disclosure at the Maiden Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria annual lecture on Wednesday in Lagos. The lecture at the theme Maritime Security, Emerging Threats and Actionable Steps. NISO, while highlighting the crucial roles of private security operators, disclosed that dealers in crude oil theft plans closed-circuit television cameras in creeks to monitor their illicit activities. He said there were places where grass may not grow for the next 100 years because of crude oil spill caused by these perpetrators. In the past, these operators utilized fire to process the crude oil, but they realized that security operators have drones and night vision capabilities to see the fire trails. So they moved to electricity. When they realized we discovered their illicit activities with electric, they transferred to phosphoric acid. Moving on to the next story. The father of Sylvester Oromoni Jr., the late student of Darwin College, has continued the quest for justice 2 years after his son's passing. The bereaved father, in an interview with journalists on Wednesday, vowed to pursue the case of his late son to a logical conclusion. He noted that Thursday, November 30, 2023, will mark 2 years of his son's death. I am compelled to take this step as a means to seeking justice 2 years since my son has been in the morgue. As the father of the deceased, I cannot be tired or discouraged from pursuing justice, as I have promised my son to get injustice, even if it will take 30 years to achieve it. Thursday, November 30, 2023, makes it 2 years since the demise of my son, and the body is still in the morgue, yet to be buried. Oromoni Jr. died on November 30, 2021, after he was alleged to have been beaten by 5 of his colleagues. Darwin College dismissed the claim and said that the boy sustained injuries playing football with his friends. In January 2022, an initial autopsy declared that Oromoni died of acute lung injury due to chemical intoxication, but the result was later discredited. The Department of Public Prosecution (DPP) in Lagos released a second result, ruling that Oromoni died naturally. The case has been in court since 2022, and the bereaved family is vowing to pursue the matter up to the apex court. Oromoni's mother has said that her son had no health challenges before the Darwin incident. And to the next story. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has arraigned a former senior banker with Polaris Bank, Mrs. Ugochi Dike, and her husband, architect Emmanuel Dike, who is also a popular elder of Seventh-day Adventist Church. The couple was arraigned before a federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt. Mrs. Ugochi Dike is accused of defrauding the company Clip Nigeria Limited to the tune of 500 million naira with the guise of investing in contract execution with NNPC, SPDC, and other IOCs with clear terms of return of investment to Clip Nigeria Limited. The company alleged that after a period of no returns, they realized they had been defrauded. They then asked for a refund of the principal money from Mrs. Ugochi Dike. Unable to refund the money, Mrs. Dike claimed her husband, Emmanuel Dike, invested the money into his cryptocurrency trading business. The couple, who are facing a 5-count charge with suit number FHC/PH/458C/23 FRN versus Ugochi Eziaku Dike and ORS, were brought to count from the custody of the EFCC on the 5-count charges, which include count 1, conspiracy, obtaining money by false pretense, contrary to Section 8 bracket A of Advance Free Fraud and other fraud-related offences, Act 2006, punishable under Section 1 bracket 3. To the next story. The Benue State Police Command has arrested 25 suspects for various offences across the state. Among those arrested were a suspected spiritualist, God's Power or Genurumu, his pregnant wife, and 5 others who traveled from Delta State to Benue State. The spokesperson for the State Command, SP Catherine Anene, who disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday, also said 15 suspected arm manufacturers were also arrested. Anene further said that 2 others were arrested at Mbakie Village, Ugondo District, Makudi, capital city, after robbing 1 Misak AK. The team rushed to the scene and arrested the spiritual leader, his wife, and 5 others. During investigations, followers of the ritualist stated that they were involved in some ritual activities in Delta State that did not yield any money as promised. God's Power told them the spirits are directed that they should move to Benue, where the further directives give them something that, yes, on their way, many would be manufactured. You are watching the world news from Baba Bagide Imo Television. Next is the foreign story. The U.S. Court for District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. has granted President Bola Tinubu's motion to intervene and oppose the release of his records held by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Central Intelligence Agency, and other top U.S. security agencies, information reports on obtained court findings. George Bailey A. Orwell on November 27th granted Mr. Tinubu's motion to intervene after deeming him to have met with 4 qualifying factors, which include timeliness of the motion, applicant interest in the property which forms subject of action, whether the applicant is so situated that the deposition of the action may, as a practical matter, impair or impede the applicant's ability to protect that interest, and whether the applicant interest is adequately represented by existing parties. Adjudging Mr. Tinubu to have met the 4 criteria, Ms. Orwell permitted the Nigerian leader to step in and protect his records from being released by the U.S. security agencies in response to a Freedom of Information request filed by Aaron Graspan, owner of Plainsight, a website that promotes transparency and anti-corruption in public service. Ms. Graspan worked with Nigerian journalist David Udain on the FOIA request. Finally, on sports. The Super Eagles of Nigeria have dropped 2 spots in the latest FIFA ranking to place 42nd in the world. In the ranking table on the website of the World Football Governing Body today, the Eagles dropped 16.04 points to rank 1,074.44 points as against 1,490.49 in October. However, the drop did not affect the team's placement on the continent, as it still remained the 6th team on the continent behind Morocco, Senegal, Tunisia, Algeria, and Egypt respectively. The drop in ranking came after the Super Eagles were held to a 1-1 draw in their 2 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying matches against Lesotho on November 16 and Zimbabwe on November 19. With our sports story, we've come to the end of today's world news. Before we go, some headlines. Tinubu confirms Betaedu as substantive immigration boss. Meets December refinery repair deadline, Afenifere urges FG. Court orders minister to explain how 535 million naira was spent on school feeding during lockdown. We will overhaul Nigeria's security architecture, Tinubu. Cries pledges to improved welfare, support for army officers and soldiers. Nigerians uninterested in budgetary arithmetic if bread, rice prices don't decrease. Rewani. On sports, Super Eagles dropped by 2 spots, now world's 42nd team in FIFA ranking. For update of our broadcast on YouTube, our handle is Bagede Imo Television. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell, select option all to access all of our broadcasts. On Facebook, Bagede Imo with Alawi Adebayo. Please like and follow the page. For advert placement, difficulties and services, coverage of events and function, please dial the phone number streaming on the screen. Thank you for watching. I am Morire Rebila Lawa. Good evening.